From Victoria, Alison Harcourt.
I've always loved numbers. Numbers are there, hidden or in plain sight. They're around us all the time. Come on, women and girls, don't be afraid of maths.
From New South Wales, Heather Lee.
Growing old is a fact of life for all Australians. Regular exercise is a way of life that I've adopted. And I would like all Australians to consider what their recipe for growing old would be.
From the ACT, Dr. Suzanne Packer.
I'm passionate about children. The longer I work with children, the more passionate I become. We have to think more of the consequences of what we do on the children who are part of our lives.
From Queensland, Professor James Dale.
Millions of kids worldwide suffer from clinical vitamin A deficiency. We have the technology now to be able to produce staple foods like bananas with high levels of provitamin A to overcome this.
From Tasmania, Sally Wise.
I'm really passionate about what I do because I love to cook. I believe it's a catalyst to communication between generations, cultures, and that's at all levels of society.
From South Australia, Reginald Dodd.
My grandfather, widow, gave us a home, protection and an identity. I'm working with our community to ensure that our future generation have the same.
From Western Australia, Frank Mallard.
I can see that there is a lot of need out there for not only Indigenous servicemen, but all servicemen that have served this country. When they come home, they're suffering.
From the Northern Territory, Charlie King.
Family violence is a massive problem for our country. It's everybody's responsibility to do something about it. I'm driven by that. That's my responsibility. That's everybody's responsibility.
So much going on in our communities behind the scenes, and proof that 65 really is just the beginning. Prime Minister, please tell us who the 2019 Senior Australian of the Year will be.
Thank you. The 2019 Senior Australian of the Year is Dr. Suzanne Packer.
Dr. Suzanne Packer is a driving force in child abuse prevention. Suzanne is focused on making Australia the best country in the world to be raised in. She stands up for the rights of all children and encourages you to do the same. Congratulations, Dr. Suzanne.
For over 50 years, Dr. Suzanne Packer, our paediatrician, has stood up for kids. An advocate who has been there in the good times and bad for our youngest and most vulnerable.
It's interesting to think of why I might have specialised with children who'd been abused and neglected. When I was training as a paediatrician, child abuse was not considered. We didn't think about it, and we certainly were not examined on it.
From boardrooms to policy making to being bedside at the ward, Sue has always put kids first.
Dealing with child abuse certainly makes you think of how this came about, what might have stopped it, and why did it happen. Most of the parents that I saw throughout my time during this work were sad, didn't know where to get help.
For almost 2 generations, Sue has witnessed how we have changed as parents, kids, and how we interact.
It's interesting thinking of the cultural changes in parenting over the very long time I've been a paediatrician. Fathers were very much secondary parents. One of the most wonderful changes is that so often the father knows every bit as much about this child, their likes, their dislikes, their routine, as the mother. On the other hand, we seem to be getting busier and busier and busier and more overcommitted in our lives. Emotional neglect can be a huge issue right across all strata of society. There is a definite increase in the reporting of mental health problems in young children, and I wonder how much of this might be associated with our very different living styles and more difficulty for children being able to feel close and comfortable with their parents.
Although not a practicing paediatrician anymore, Sue was out in the community, standing up for me, for you, and for all the kids of Australia.
Probably one of my commonest discussions is the difference between doing things to children and doing things with children. The stuff that is memorable and is memorable to your old age is the stuff that you do with children. It might be digging a garden, it might be painting a fence, but when you're feeling this collective enjoyment and collective accomplishment, that's the stuff that really builds the relationships and the child's capacities to develop into the best sort of adult.
On behalf of me and all the kids in Australia, thank you, Sue Packer.
Very stunning. Thank you all. And also thank you for the opportunity in the last 2 days to meet some of the most astounding people I have ever met in my life who are going to change the rest of my life. Thank you all. These days, as I practice retirement in my garden for children, I think about children. Plants and children need appropriate environments to grow and flourish. When I plant seedlings, if things go wrong, I blame myself. I don't blame the plants for their poor performance. But from families to governments, when our plans for our children go wrong, so often we do blame the child, saying things like, shows no respect, eats too much junk food, and so on. We need to remember that we adults are the drivers for the world our children experience every day. Raising children is so much more than a family responsibility. And by the current measures, our Australian children are not doing as well as they could. Middle of the pack, certainly not leaders. But if we want to improve, we adults are the ones who need to change. No more belated apologies. We need to notice children, be curious about their lives, whether it's our own children, children in the neighbourhood, or the children on Nauru. I think about adult interactions with children in 3 ways. I've said this before. Firstly, the things we do to children, to be approached with caution, as the imbalance of power can so often become abusive. This is an issue in hospitals with hospital procedures. Things we do for children, which is almost everything we do with kids. And we can feel real martyrs at times. And then the things we do with children, pure gold, with adult and child participating equally. It can be anything and everything, from giggling with a baby to working on a project with children as full participants. If our situation in Australia is to improve, all of us must first learn to truly value all children, irrespective of their circumstances, as full members of our society who are learning from all of us. We're a small but wealthy nation, and we already have a reputation for punching above our weight. Surely our children should be our first priority. My dream is that one day Australia will be recognised as the best place in the world to be a child. Thank you.